Hello everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a review of the first 2 episodes of Obi Wan Kenobi. Now there'll likely be spoilers within this review, so just be aware when going into this overall video. Now Obi Wan Kenobi, of course, is the third live action Star Wars series from Disney Plus after both The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Now you can check out my reviews of both of those shows and I'll leave some links within the description. Now, Obi Wan Kenobi, of course, centres around one of the most iconic characters within all of Star Wars franchise, the Jedi Master Obi Wan, who we first saw in the original trilogy train a young Luke Skywalker in the ways of the Force, and then later on in the prequel trilogy where he trained his father, Anakin Skywalker. Now, this series will focus on the period between the prequel and the original trilogy, 10 years after the last prequel trilogy movie, Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan is one of the last surviving Jedi following the Order 66 initiative set by Emperor Palpatine in order to take the Jedi out. He also has the responsibility to keep an eye on a young Luke Skywalker, who he handed over to adoptive parents to ensure he grows up to become the new hope for the galaxy in the future. Obi-Wan also has to be aware of the dangerous group known as the InquisItors, who have been set by Emperor Palpatine in order to track down and hunt the remaining Jedi. Now, Obi Wan Kenobi debuted on Disney Plus on Friday the 27th of May 2022 and will overall consist of 6 episodes. So in terms of these first 2 episodes, my initial feeling was that I'm overall a bit underwhelmed, to be honest with you. It wasn't particularly bad, but it did drag in times and places. This was easily a situation where both episodes could have been easily merged into one. Both episodes had a runtime of around 47 minutes, and the first episode in particular easily could have been cut down and wasn't really the best of openers in terms of announcing a new Star Wars show. Now, the first episode itself, we had a very lengthy recap of all of the prequel movies, where we're basically showing the origin of Obi-Wan, of course, how he met Anakin and went to train with him before coming into conflict with him at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And we continued that narrative involving the Order 66 in the forthcoming scene where we saw the Jedi younglings in the temple being massacred by the stormtroopers. Quite an intense and vivid moment. We see one of the Jedi Masters, we see him protecting the younglings before she gets taken down, and then we see all of the others run away before we assume meeting their death. And then we later on catch up with Obi-Wan working in some sort of market stall or food factory. We see him taking segments of food with him as he works there overall. And then we see him later on hiding away in the underground caverns, coping with the various nightmares that what happened following the events of Revenge of the Sith. And then we later on catched up with a younger Leia in Alderaan, of course. She was the second twin, of course, put away in safety under the parentage of Bail Organa. Very good to see Jimmy Smits playing that role once again. And to be honest with you, I don't really see the point of the inclusion of a young Leia. I don't think she should really be that integral of a character in terms of this overall story. I think it was much more of an excuse to have Obi-Wan have a reason to come off Tatooine, because that was one of my biggest questions surrounding this series, is that how are you going to exactly generate any sort of substantial story to have Obi-Wan travelling around the city when we all know that Obi-Wan's main role is to remain on Tatooine and look after Luke. So you're going to have to find some excuse to take him away from Tatooine in order for him to have these further adventures. So that was the initial reason, where we see that Leia later on throughout this episode is taking capture. And that's when later Bail Organa gets in contact with Obi-Wan and asks him to help him rescue Leia. Now, in terms of Leia herself as a character, I had a couple of issues because I did find the younger version a bit annoying at times. The fact that she was able to outrun all of her captures and Obi-Wan himself in the second episode was a bit implausible. At the end of the day, she's only a young child. She doesn't yet exhibit any of the midichlorians or the force-sensitive powers that we know that she'll have later on down the line. She's just basically a normal kid, but already she's kind of evading people. So that was a bit of a stretch. And she just came across as a bit overly impulsive. We understand they want to make her already have those sense of the sassiness and the independence that we saw with Leia when she's later on an adult. But it just came across as a bit annoying in my opinion. And altogether a bit cliched. Yet again, we have the younger character not listening to anybody, disobedient at almost every turn, and really rebelling against people who were trying to save her. So again, very cliched interpretation, I think, in terms of Leia. Now, we did manage to generate some moments of tension with the entry of the InquisItors. That was overall a very good scene where we see them arriving at the stall, where we see the Grand Inquisitor leader giving some sort of monologue about the ways of the Jedi and their habits, how it would be ideal for them to go on the run, but they can't help themselves in terms of saving people. So this was quite a good tense moment as he was surveying the various village people hunting down the Jedi. And then we had that moment when Reva, or the third sister of the Inquisitors, throws a knife at somebody, and then we see a Jedi is indeed hiding amongst them, and then we see him run away. Now, as far as I know, this Jedi wasn't any particular special character in terms of Star Wars canon. He was just a token character, just there to represent the fact that there are Jedi hiding around. And we see that later on he manages to connect with Obi-Wan, telling him of a bigger war to fight, and Obi-Wan tells him that the best thing to do is to hide away and stay hidden. And of course, one of the biggest elements was Reva herself as a character. Both episodes went to great lengths to establishing her obsession with finding Kenobi and the fact that she wants to kill the Jedi. Now, if you indeed follow any kind of YouTube coverage or social media entertainment, or indeed are a major fan of Star Wars, I'm pretty much sure you are well aware of the various leaks that surrounded themselves online regarding Reva's character. So as per this is a spoiler review, I'll warn you now that I will go on to the leaks that were happening. So in terms of this overall narrative, we're very much hinting that Reva was indeed one of the children that was there in the beginning when the younglings were massacred at the Jedi Temple, and this is her very much going on her own revenge story in terms of hunting down Obi-Wan. We learn later on in the second episode that Reva made the voluntary decision to join the Inquisitors, and as per the leaks, it was confirmed in the second episode that she does indeed know that Anakin is Darth Vader, where she encounters Obi-Wan later on the cargo ship. So it does raise a lot of questions here, because how exactly would Reva have certain knowledge of that? How exactly does she know Kenobi, and why is she so obsessed with killing him? Now, there are certain theories that we could conclude here. The first one being that somehow she found out the identity of Anakin during the massacre of the Jedi Temple. Maybe somebody recognised who Anakin was, and they managed to rescue Reva, and when they took her away, they told her of what happened. Again, you're going to have to do a lot of explanation here to decide who exactly would know who Anakin is. If you remember, but at the end of the Revenge of the Sith, the only person that really knows that Anakin is Darth Vader is Emperor Palpatine. We have that scene at the end of the movie where it's robots that are constructing Darth Vader, so nobody else would know who he is. So how exactly does Reva know his identity? Now, the only other conclusion I could come to is that maybe Reva is working for Palpatine, because Palpatine senses, of course, that Obi-Wan is still alive and wants to hunt him down. So maybe when Reva was taken in by the Inquisitors, she came into contact with Palpatine, and he has put her on some sort of undercover mission in order to hunt down Obi-Wan. That's the only real logical conclusion that I can come towards, as it's clear as day at some point throughout the series we will indeed get some reference, or indeed I believe we will see the presence of Palpatine probably at the end episode. Now, if you go back to the links, the rumours are that at the end of this episode that Reva will discover that Luke and Leia are indeed Jedi, and she has the opportunity to kill Luke, but she refrains so at the end, and then she goes back to Darth Vader telling him that he has killed Obi-Wan. Darth Vader doesn't believe her, and then he proceeds to kill her. Now, I think we might get a twist here. I think that she may end up seeing Palpatine at the end, because that was her original mission, to see if she could track down and kill Obi-Wan. When she tells Palpatine that she's killed Obi-Wan, Palpatine doesn't believe her, or Darth Vader tells him that that's not the case, and then that will be the moment when Palpatine kills Reva, not Darth Vader. So we'll wait and see overall, but at this moment, in terms of both these episodes, it does seem that they are very much following the same trajectory of the leaks. So we ended the episode very much so with Obi-Wan coming to terms with the fact that Darth Vader or Anakin is still alive, and then that's when we see Vader or Anakin being resuscitated in the chamber there. So overall, as I mentioned before, in terms of these two episodes itself, they weren't bad. I think the visuals looked actually quite good. It was actually quite a refreshing change to see an area of Star Wars that wasn't based on a desert planet. I did like the scenes surrounding Alderaan, especially when we saw Leia running in amongst the forest. It just had a very bright HD sheen towards it, and again, it was very pleasing on the eye, and like I said, just gave a different change in terms of what we've visually seen so far within these previous Disney Star Wars series. I think Ewan McGregor easily fits back into the role as Obi-Wan. No problems there, still pulls off the accent. No worries. We did have a few other characters come into play, and I think that's going to be key if you're going to try and sustain interest in terms of the story, is that you'll need to give Obi-Wan more characters to bounce off. It can't just be him on his own thinking about himself. and we only have 4 episodes left throughout this series, so they're going to have to do a lot more to keep Obi-Wan involved as a character and justify really this overall story that we're trying to show here. So in terms of the overall episodes, it wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible, but I just think it was underwhelming. And after the much debated division, we would say, over the Book of Boba Fett, I do hope that this is far more of a stronger series, and I do hope that they do manage to keep Obi-Wan prominent to the story. Though again, from what we go by in terms of the leaks and what I've seen so far, I am fearing that the narrative is indeed going to shift over more towards both Reva and Leia, and that's going to yet again cause a lot of more Star Wars fan outrage online, and that's something that we definitely don't need for sure. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and review of the first 2 episodes of Obi Wan Kenobi. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this was a good start? How do you think it compares to both The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett? Does these 2 episodes get you far more invested in Disney Star Wars? We do know recently that they did have a couple of announcements made at the recent Star Wars celebration regarding both the Andor and the new John Watts series, as well as announcing dates for both Ahsoka and the Acolytes as well. So let me know your current feelings on the franchise going forward. Now, as usual with all of these show reviews, I will of course provide further coverage on any outstanding episodes, plus also a review of both the finale and the overall season as well. So look out for those both in the future within the channel. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.